Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up Podcast. As always, I'm Theo, and joining me is Nick. Today, just like we always do every Thursday, we're going to go through all the Week 5 matchups in the NFL for this coming week. Shout out guest appearance there to Nick's neighbor dog, whose name I forget. It's come up before.
Boomer.
Boomer, yeah. Boomer Sooner, baby. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great. I love hearing from Boomer.
Don't we all? Hey, maybe
Doing all right though.
Maybe Mom's dog Newton will start coughing because he doesn't
we'll see
bark
what
yet.
happens.
He's got the little kennel cough. Had to take him to the vet today.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, he's doing all right though. He's fine. We're over on Twitter /X at @DraftedUp_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, follow, all that good stuff on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Just search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. Before we dive into Week 5, let's give you our starts of the week. Who you got at quarterback, Nick?
Boop, boop, boop. Let me open up our little thread here. My start of the week at quarterback is a man I have truly talked down upon for
Anthony
his
Richardson?
whole career, for essentially Anthony Richardson. Just a little bit better version than Anthony Richardson this year. I'm going Justin Fields versus Dallas. Fields last week was QB1. He almost had 40-some points. And he's doing it not all on the ground, dude. Like, he's actually passing the ball. George Pickens is looking good. Pat Freiermuth, another decent little start versus Dallas this week. I'm all in for Pittsburgh. Their defense is rock solid. Justin Fields, though, dude. I'm all in. Stream him this week. I seen he was just picked up in our home league, and I actually sent the guy who picked him up a text message. I'm like, hey, dude, great pickup. Love him versus Dallas this week. So I'm all in on Fields this week for sure.
You feeling all right, Justin Fields? Wow.
Yeah, a little under the weather. I'm going to have to call out of work tomorrow.
Here comes a bad Justin Fields game, and Nick can just be like, I fucking hate that guy.
I mean, it would not surprise me.
Yeah,
because Dallas has a legitimate defense when they want to, show up.
When they want to, but Mike Zimmer's the worst, so that's why it's so bad. My start of the week is disgusting. I'm not feeling great about it, but I am at the same time because it is a ballsy move. I am going Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts is the perfect defense for fantasy football. They suck at everything. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. It's the perfect funnel defense for you. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big bounce back week for the Jags. I expect a big game offensively from them. I really hope Joe Flacco also plays this because I think it would be a much better game across the board because Jacksonville's defense also terrible. But there's two quarterbacks on bye this week. Jalen Hurts, or a few quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff are the ones that are starting. Justin Herbert's also on bye, but chances are you're not starting him too frequently. So you might have to make some moves.
A much needed bye.
For that, yeah, that guy is banged up. But you might need to make some moves, and I think you could feel a little bit confident starting Trevor Lawrence this week against the Colts.
I agree. I really hope Flacco ends up playing. We'll get to that when we do our games, though, for sure. Who's your start of the week at running back?
My start of the week at running back is a combo. It is the Seattle Seahawks backfield. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. They're going up against the New York Football Giants. The Giants are banged up. Rico Dowdle had a nice game against them last week. Ken Walker is questionable, but it was a Wednesday thing. I haven't heard anything about today if he practiced, but I expect him to play. But if he doesn't, Zach Charbonnet is a great play as well. You've seen it the 2 games Walker wasn't in. Charbonnet was an RB1. So, in Ken Walker's first game back against Detroit, he obliterated that defense. 3 touchdowns. Yeah. 2 or 3 touchdowns. Either way, he's Ken Walker. He's an RB1 when he's on the field, banged up or not. I'm starting either one of them.
I'm even cool starting Charbonnet as a flex, even if Walker plays. Charbonnet's got a touchdown in both the games Walker's played, so Charbonnet's still he's a flex option for sure. Start of the week here for me, running back wise, is Chuba Hubbard, Carolina. Since Andy Dalton's coming, he's been the RB that we expected early on. He's getting all the work. Exactly. He had 18 attempts and then 21 his first game with Andy Dalton. 100 yards in both games. RB7 last week, RB4 the week before. So he's not even like exceeding expectations. He's finishing as a top 12 back. Like he's
Mhm.
extremely startable, and he's a great matchup versus the Bears this week.
Yeah,
The Bears have allowed a ton of rushing yards this year. What are you going to
it's
say?
a good defense, but it's passing wise. They're great at stopping the pass, but they've been struggling against the run so far. And like Chuba's not even getting like the full workload. Like Miles Sanders is still getting touches in this offense. Like let
Sanders,
Chuba be the workhorse, baby.
I mean, I'm cool with Sanders getting he's getting like 6 or 7 attempts. I think I haven't really looked at his numbers, but I'm cool with that. It keeps Hubbard's legs fresh. So, and he's a really explosive guy. He's averaging close to six a carry this year. So,
and they're also using him in the passing game, which is nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. He had 4 catches last week, 5 the week before, and then 4 again the week before that. So he's really good PPR wise too. He has a couple touchdowns on the year. I'm all in on Chuba Hubbard for Chicago this week.
I like the Hubbard pick. My start at wide receiver. I'm piggybacking off my quarterback. I'm finally doing it. I'm going with my guy Brian Thomas Jr. Like I said with Trevor Lawrence, the Colts defense can't do anything. Like they're terrible against the pass, they're terrible against the run. Brian Thomas Jr. is starting to get that target share. He had 9 targets last week. He's got over 20% so far now on the season. He's the guy in Jacksonville. And if the Jags want to win this game, they're going to have to, come out hot. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start the game on a deep bomb to BTJ. But I'm calling my shot. I'm calling a 50-plus yard catch this week for Brian Thomas Jr.
I mean, he's one of the guys that are really capable of doing it, especially with how the offense has been rolling in Jacksonville. It's not really rolling, but the way they're playing, they're just going deep to Brian Thomas and hope to God he's coming down with it, because ETN, they're piggybacking fucking Tank Bigsby a ton. So I really like the Jacksonville pass option this week. So I like what you're doing there. My start of the week, receiver-wise, is Amari Cooper versus Washington. Washington has a horrendous secondary, dude. And I'm not high on Cleveland's offense. I'm just high on Amari Cooper.
Bad.
Like, I hope he gets out of there if they end up trading him, because they're done. Like, they're pointless. Watch. Deshaun Watson's a bum. He's not capable of getting the ball to Amari Cooper, and it really shows. Like, he's had a ton of targets, dude, and he's just not connecting. But Washington's secondary it's right there with Philly's, dude. Like, they're not capable of covering people. So it's almost like Mike Evans versus Philly. Chris Olave versus Philly. Like, I'm rolling off these horrendous secondaries for my receivers of the week. Doing it again. So Amari Cooper, he had 8 targets last week. The week before that, he had 12, and that was his big week. He finished as wide receiver 5. I think Cooper gets in the end zone this week, and that's what's going to really get him as a start of the week.
Yeah, target Washington. Thankfully, like they have a good offense too, so it makes that the other team has to pass still. It's not like a team where they're just bad all around. Washington's offense is cooking, so it makes it a little better for opposing offenses because that defense is so bad. Who do you got at tight end?
My tight end is Tucker Kraft versus the Rams.
Tucker
Kraft had a crazy week. Don't fucking compare him to that horrendous wrestler. Tucker Kraft had a crazy week last week. He had 9 targets, 6 catches. And then they're going up against the Rams. Like, it's going to be hopefully a shootout. The Green Bay's offense came back and ended up scoring, 28, 29 on you guys?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something like that. And you guys have a great defense. Jordan Love, it took him a little bit to get back into rhythm. And look what happened. He didn't miss a beat when it came to the fourth quarter. So versus the banged up Rams, I think Tucker Kraft has an option to get into the end zone, especially with Christian Watson out. Mm-hmm. So I like Tucker Kraft, and tight ends. It's been slim pickings.
So pick your poison.
Exactly.
Yeah, the tight end
Jake Ferguson's pretty much like the safest option.
I was gonna do Jake Ferguson, but I'm just like, oh man, is he the new Brock Bowers? Where it's just like, Jake Ferguson, lock him in your lineup. He's good, especially with Brandon Cooks out now. But the tight end room
how I see Ferguson
has swung to Tucker Kraft. Like, everybody was all in on Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave looked pretty good last year. He was the higher draft pick. But this season, we brought it up week 1. Like, keep an eye on it, and it is all Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft played 80% of the snaps last week, and Luke Musgrave played 30. So I really like that one. For you, but
he's by far like the number 1 tight end option on that team. So
yeah, he had a good week last week too. So good
Great
confidence
week,
start there.
especially
I
with
agree. I'm going to try to provide confidence for some guys who drafted a tight end early with my tight end start of the week. I'm going with Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are trying to use Kincaid. Like, they're getting him involved. It just hasn't been working so far. But Khalil Shakir's banged up. He's got an ankle injury. He's questionable. If he doesn't play, Kincaid becomes the guy for Josh Allen in terms of familiarity and just like best option to throw to that's not like James Cook. So, and Houston, high powered offense, like these teams are going to have to score. So, I like Dalton Kincaid this week for Josh Allen.
I like that a lot because if Shakir doesn't play, Kincaid's going to eat up the targets that like Shakir gets 5 to 6 targets a game and he's catching all of them. So they're easy, nice targets. If Kincaid's able to get 4 more receptions onto what he's usually getting, that makes him an easy tight end 1 this week.
Yeah, I like Kincaid. He can play that Shakir row, just work the middle of the field there. All right, let's get into our previews. We're going to start off with a London game. The New York Jets are at air quotes, the Minnesota Vikings in London. The Vikings are the designated home team. An over-under of 40. Vikings are favored by 2.5 points. You're going to start Justin Jefferson. You're not going to worry about him with Sauce Gardner. He's, you know, you're not going to be like, I'm benching Jefferson. You're going to start Jordan Addison too, I think. I mean, Jets have a good number 2 corner. DJ Reed, I believe is his name. I'm blanking on it. But he's been solid. But Jordan Addison, he came back last week, ripped up Green Bay. He's looking fresh. And then you're going to start Aaron Jones. Jets haven't been too great against the run, but Aaron Jones is the workhorse here. It's the question on Minnesota, like, are you starting Sam Darnold?
I think he's very startable this week. I seen he was picked up in our home league, and he's going to be starting for the team that has Jared Goff. So I think they made a good pickup. They could have picked up Justin Fields, but I think Darnold's a really safe touchdown option. Like, he's going to get 2 touchdowns probably regardless of what happens in this game. But I mean, I think there's a really slim chance, not a slim chance, but a really lower end chance that this game just ends up in a blowout. Like, you guys can blow out the Jets if the things go your way. Like, it happened to Houston. You guys took an early lead. If that happens versus the Jets, I don't think they have the offense to come back.
No, that makes sense. I'm not going to, like, if I have Darnold, I'll probably play him unless, like, I could get Justin Fields or, I don't even, Baker.
It's like just
like Baker was out there. I would start Baker.
Baker's playing now.
Yeah, I would have already picked him. But like otherwise, like I would start. I would him and
I think I'd
start
rather
of the week,
Darnold
Trevor
over
Lawrence. But yeah, oh well, not me. I think Baker's pretty well locked in. I like the Falcons defense way less than the Jets in terms of giving up points. The Falcons defense not as good as Jets have a solid defense. Like the Jets could theoretically stop Minnesota. I hate London games because they either go one way. It's either like a really high scoring or they're just like complete duds and just disgusting football games. But yeah, I wouldn't shy away from Darnold. I would probably have him just like rate as like a fringe QB1, maybe like QB13, which you'll take in a 12-team league. You're not going to bat your eye out if he's 13. Yeah. How do you feel about the Jets, though?
Oish. Not good. Not good at all. Like, Breece Hall hasn't looked ideal, specifically the last couple weeks. Brandon Allen has looked way more explosive, but Breece Hall is still Breece Hall. So he's... Yeah, well, yeah, it's crazy, but Breece Hall did this last year. He didn't average a ton of carry because the offensive line's horrendous. So I don't know what's going on. So
he's down
you guys
from
have an
last
amazing...
Year.
What's up?
He's averaging less yards per carry this year than he did last year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the reason to that is. I don't know if it's the offensive line or the way he's playing, or I'm not sure. I haven't watched enough Jets games, to be honest. And you guys have an amazing run defense, so you have to be wary of Breece Hall. I'm starting Breece Hall for sure, but oh man, it's going to be a rough outing. I'm not starting Brandon Allen because of your rushing defense. He's not worth starting.
The one upside to Breece Hall is the Vikings do struggle against pass catchers with running backs. Like we do give up a ton of dump offs to running backs because of how much pressure we create. So this could be one of those classic Brees Hall games where he's 13 for 5 yards, but has 6 catches to he PPRs his way to a relevant fantasy game.
I agree.
He's the only player I'm starting with like confidence per se. Like I'm starting Garrett Wilson, but even against Minnesota, who's bad against the pass, like Garrett Wilson, like maybe he's not the alpha we think he is.
He's not.
Like he might just be like
okay.
a low end wide receiver 1 in real life, and just like a really elite wide receiver 2. Like if the Jets can go out and get Devontae Adams, I think that's huge for Garrett Wilson.
I agree.
So you're going to play him though, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has another 4 for 30 game, and you're just like frustrated.
I agree. Well, the last 2 weeks he's gone 5 for 40, 5 for 30. That's kind of what I'm expecting again, like 5 for 50. And hey, man, if he ends up getting in the end zone, you're extremely happy. Like that's 16 points, 5 for 50, and a tutty. You have to hope he gets in the end zone to be very happy for Garrett Wilson. And that just hasn't really happened this year. He has 1 touchdown. So getting in the end zone isn't really his MO per se, but adding Devontae Adams, I think, adds so much volume for him PPR wise of just getting like these small in the middle of the zone kind of dink down catches. And then Devontae Adams works the red zone, gets the touchdowns. Because Aaron Rodgers and him are obviously going to still have that connection. If Devontae Adams lands on this team, I cannot be more happy. I hope that guy just gets somewhere that he's used properly. Oakland's horrendous.
Yeah, like Adams coming in, I don't think hurts Garrett Wilson. Defenses aren't going to then shadow Garrett Wilson. They're going to focus on Devontae Adams, and it's going to really, it's going to open up things for Garrett Wilson. How do you feel about Mike Williams? He's been getting more and more targets and getting involved. Like I think Mike Williams is
healthier.
like a sneaky play this week. Like if you're desperate on buys or you have the injured guys like Puka or Cooper Kupp or AJ Brown, and you really need a disgusting start, I would throw the dart at Mike Williams. He led the team in targets now. I think back-to-back games. He's healthier, and he ripped up Minnesota last year. Like and it was the game he tore his ACL. He had like 6 grabs for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. He completely destroyed Minnesota, and he's capable of taking the top off this defense. And Minnesota does struggle against the pass. Like they gave up a ton of yards to Jordan Love, so if the Jets want to stretch the field, I think Mike Williams is like a sneaky, like desperate play. I would love to throw him in a DFS lineup if I would quick put one together.
Yeah, he had 4 for 60 last week. He had 5 targets. He's not out targeting Garrett Wilson. Wilson had 8 or 9 targets last week. Mike Williams had 5. But he is getting healthier. He had 4 catches last week. I think that's exactly what Wilson had.
Yeah.
Wilson had 5. So no, Wilson's out statting Williams across the board. But 4 for 60 is still 10 points. And in a low end flex, that's a really good floor. And he's a really good touchdown guy. Like in the past with the Chargers, Mike Williams has always been a really good red zone option. And that's not Garrett Wilson this year. So they're going to have to score points somehow to keep up with Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings, which sounds crazy to say. So a Mike Williams touchdown isn't out of the possibility. And add that to the 10 points he had last week. That's 16 points again. It's the Garrett Wilson thing. Like their floor to ceiling is like 10 to 14 points. It's nothing crazy. But they're good flex options, which is crazy to say about Garrett Wilson that he's not like a startable top-end receiver this year.
Mm-hmm. Tyler Conklin?
Ugh,
Revenge game.
I guess. It doesn't matter.
Sure, yeah.
Tight ends.
Well, I mean,
he's startable. Yeah, he plays a ton of snaps. So,
him or Kyle Pitts?
Kyle Pitts. Higher ceiling.
Mark Andrews.
Over Conklin? Yeah, Mark Andrews.
Okay. Kate Otten today.
No, Mark Andrews.
They're like the same.
Tyler Conklin over Kate Otten for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like playing onesies on a Thursday game if they're questionable.
I don't like playing anybody on a Thursday game. It stresses me out.
If they're startable guys, I'm happy with
it. Next up, the Cleveland Browns travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. The Commanders are 3.5 point favorites and over under 43.5.
Mm-hmm.
We brought it up in your start of the week, Amari Cooper. The Washington defense, not very good. The Cleveland Browns offense, not very good. The Washington offense, incredible. The Browns defense, pretty good. So polar opposite teams here. But you're starting Jaden Daniels without a doubt.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you're not going to bench that dude at all. Like he's a lock and start for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm,
Brian Robinson, he showed up on the injury report today. He has a little knee injury. 2 days of practice.
I think he missed practice 2 days in a row.
So Austin Eckler says he's playing, coming back from the concussion. So if Brian Robinson misses the game and Eckler's playing, Eckler is a must start.
Great start. Oh, yeah,
Like
because it's a concussion. So
yeah, even if Brian Robinson plays, I'm going to put him in my lineup. I'll take the risk on the injury.
Yeah, because it's a concussion. So like if you're healthy back, you're back healthy. It's not like a risk of getting rehurt. It's not a hamstring or you can't pull it. So if you're back, you're back. I'm starting Eckler. He's been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But Robinson's been out, so Eckler could be a really, really good start.
If Robinson plays, are you playing him?
Yeah. If Robinson plays, I'm playing him too. Like he's been amazing this year.
And Terry McLaurin, I think you can lock him in now. Rough start to begin the year, but he's been hot the last 2 games. And other than that, I don't want anything to do with Washington. Not even Zach Ertz. I'm not that desperate at tight end. I'd rather start Tyler Conklin or K-Dot.
I would not rather start Tyler Conklin. I think Zach Ertz is like a safe 8 points, where Conklin's not really a safe 8. I think Zach Ertz his floor is a little bit higher than Conklin's. What about the other tight end in the game, though? Njoku, if he suits up, you good with Njoku?
Yes. Yeah. Like if you're Njoku owners, chances are whoever you've been streaming while he's out hasn't done shit enough to keep. I'd rather take the risk of Njoku coming back from the ankle injury and him getting 0 than starting, Jawan Johnson or K-Dot or Tyler Conklin and hope they get 6 to 8 points.
I agree. Week 1, he played in 37% of the snaps. Just 37%, and then got hurt. He got 8.4 points, finished as the tight end 9. He had 4 catches for 44 yards. In 37% of snaps, he's doing what Zach Ertz is doing in a whole game. So, I'm starting Njoku.
Yeah, Njoku, incredibly good, really athletic guy. Like, I honestly wouldn't be, like, he might be the cog that makes this offense move. Like, he's been out, and this offense has been terrible, and how do you feel about Nick Chubb? Back. If he comes back, I'm not starting Chubb right away.
No, I agree.
But if he's out there somehow on your waiver wire, pick him up because I think he's just going like Njoku. I think he's going to help open this offense up a little bit more. Like I think he's going to be incredibly beneficial to Jerome Ford. 60% Nick Chubb's better than 100% Deonta Ford.
Oh yeah, 100%. He has 4 weeks to come back? Is that how the window works?
Yeah, and he's looked great at practice. The videos they've been posted, he's looked great. He says he's healthy. Like catastrophic knee injury. I kind of hope he doesn't play this week, but if he does, I hope it's in like a minimal, like they just get him like 4 or 5 carries just to see what kind of juice he has. But I'm excited to see.
Plays this week?
Yeah,
that's insane.
They haven't ruled him out.
I don't see him suiting up this week. I expect him to be back in like 2 to 3 weeks, more towards the end of his window compared to this week. That would be insane if he's back this week. But my start of the week, Amari Cooper is on the receiving side of Cleveland. Jerry Jeudy's also a really good flex option. He's had double digits 3 of the 4 games this week. Finished the top 30 receiver 3 of the 4 games. He's getting the good targets too. He's had 8, 6, 7, and 9. So he's pulling targets just like Cooper is, and he's outscored Cooper, I think, 3 of the 4 games. And the one game he didn't, that was Cooper's big week versus the Giants. But Jerry Jeudy was still on the field for 90% of the snaps that week. So Jerry Jeudy's also a really good flex option for the Browns this week.
Jerry Jeudy or Darnell Mooney, who plays today?
I would go Jerry Jeudy just because it's the Thursday thing. I don't like iffy guys on Thursday.
Yeah. So Chubb's been limited the last 2 days. Says he feels good. He likely doesn't play this week, but the window is open.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's not giving a date as to when he'll be back.
Okay. Jerome Ford's also a really good option. You're pretty much starting a bunch of, if you're playing Washington, you're starting the guys that are on the field a bunch. And Jerome Ford's another guy. He's on the field for 80% of snaps, except week 2.
God, I hope
Week
they
2
get
is
him
the
more
weird.
involved too.
Week 2 is the weird thing. It was I don't know what happened. Last week, though, he finished his RB 18. He played in 80% of snaps. He had 58 yards on the ground, but he also went 7 targets, 7 catches. That's a great PPR week. If you're pulling in 7 catches, dude, you are extremely happy at the end of Sunday.
Yeah. I like Ford a lot this week. And yeah, you're starting your guys. I do like Jerry Jeudy. I didn't really touch on him, but as a flex play, I think Jeudy has some juice. Like he's playing well. They're using him, like, and he's looking like the talent that he was drafted to be right now.
Yeah, I have this little fake motto when we're talking about like bust. Like he was a first round pick for a reason. Usually said about Mitch Trubisky, but Jerry Jeudy was legitimately a first round pick for a reason. Like his stuff at Alabama was amazing, dude. And unfortunately, it didn't show in Denver. But was that really his fault? We're not sure because Denver's been Denver.
Yeah.
So this year he's looked good. So I would love to see Jerry Jeudy just keep growing. I've always been a big Jerry Jeudy guy.
Next up, the Baltimore Ravens travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites on the road and over under a 49. Now, it doesn't really matter that the Bengals are 1-3 and the Ravens are 2-2. The Bengals-Ravens games are always just dogfights. Like they are rough and tough football. But we haven't made picks. We haven't picked either of the games. We just kind of went through. I'm taking the Vikings. I'm taking the Commanders.
I'm also taking the Vikings, and I'm also taking the Commanders.
Yeah. So, Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati could win this game. I do. That's not because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, but like they play Baltimore well. Like Cincinnati's played good in every game this year except the New England game.
Yeah, they have, but I get Baltimore's 2-2, and they somehow lost to Vegas, and they lost to Kansas City on the last play of the game. But then they came back, and they beat Dallas, and they beat Buffalo. Buffalo has looked unstoppable. They looked amazing. Baltimore came in here and said, it's nothing, cakewalk, but we got this. And Derrick Henry just looked out of this world, dude. Like, Derrick Henry has looked as good as Derrick Henry has ever looked. And that sounds insane to say when he's 30 years old.
He's good.
I don't know. Baltimore has a really good defense. There's just a chance Cincinnati just can't keep up with Baltimore.
But does Baltimore have a really good defense? Like, they're terrible against the pass. So I think this is a big Joe Burrow throws for 300 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns.
That's what has to happen because I'm almost benching Zach Moss and Chase Brown this week. Like, I'm almost not starting those guys at all.
So the problem with those guys is like they're now in like a true 50-50 split, but they've been scoring. Like Chase Brown's been scoring touchdowns, Zach Moss has been scoring touchdowns. Like they're both getting involved, whether both fantasy relevant, but Baltimore is much better at stopping the run than they are the pass.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Like, I think if any of these guys have a relevant fantasy game, it has to be a PPR out. Like, Zach Moss is going to have to get another 5 catches again like he had last week. Like, thankfully, they're using him in the catch game as well, because if they're not, Zach Moss, I would bench him this week. But if he ends up getting 5 catches on, like, dink and dunks, I don't think either of their backs end up in the end zone this week, but I think Burrow has 2 through the air or 3. But I don't know if 21 points is going to be enough to outscore Baltimore, to be honest.
Yeah, well, and also because Cincinnati's defense is horrible.
Oh, it's horrendous.
So,
yeah,
like, that's also, like, the problem is how bad Cincinnati's defense is, whereas, like, Lamar could put up 300 yards. That's unlikely, but that's just how bad the Bengals pass game is. Derrick Henry's a great start. It's really like, are you comfortable starting Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers?
I mean, you kind of have to start Mark Andrews theoretically, but he's goosed the last 2 weeks, dude. Like, so you would just assume they're going to get him back into the offense because, like, you think they roll 3 weeks in a row without getting Mark Andrews a catch? Like, that doesn't even seem possible before the season. If I told you, hey, man, week 3, 4, and 5, Mark Andrews has 0 catches, and it's not because he's hurt. He's on the field, my guy. He's just they're just not giving him the ball. So
the Mark Andrews conundrum is tough.
It's weird. I would still start Mark Andrews, but it's with 2% confidence. And Zay Flowers, man, it's it's what we've talked about for Zay Flowers all offseason. Like, he was wide receiver 71 week 3 and wide receiver 96 week 4. Wide receiver 96, TJ. That's like
No.
insane, dude. He had 2 points last week.
Yeah,
I get people are on a bye, so you have to start some people, but if you have an open roster spot, I would happily pick up like Josh Downs, Dontavius Wicks. If he was on waivers and you happen to snag him, I would start Dontavius Wicks over Flowers in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mindset with Flowers is you play him in good matchups, and this is a good matchup. Yeah. So I wouldn't be trying to force him out of my lineup, but I'm not comfortably starting him.
No.
But I wouldn't fight against him. I was trying to see where Baltimore ranks against running backs, but God forbid the sleeper website actually tell you, and I'm using the phone to record. So I was trying to see how many points they gave. On average on the season, they're only giving up 14 points PPR to running backs.
Gotcha.
Not great for when you're splitting time as a backfield in terms of Zach Moss and Chase Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, you feeling good about the receivers, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase?
Yeah. I almost picked T. Higgins as my start of the week. I think T. Higgins has a really sneaky good game. I think he ends up in the end zone for sure. Like I'm more confident. Like Jamar Chase is obviously going to get his, but I think T. Higgins has his kind of game this week. This is the T. Higgins game. It's division. It's going to be a dogfight. Show up to the big matches, my guy.
Yeah. You're going Baltimore?
Oh yeah, I'm going Baltimore. I think Derrick Henry's about to have another fucking field day, dude.
Yeah, I think I'm also going with the Ravens. That was a little tricky. Another good matchup.
Derrick Henry has 6 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, dude,
that's crazy,
insane. Next up, Buffalo Bills. They travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Bills are 1-point road favorites.
Crazy.
An over-under of 47.5 points. Stephon Diggs revenge game. That's the narrative here. It wouldn't surprise me if Houston tries to funnel their offense through Diggs and just get him going, which I think would be beneficial to Buffalo because then that takes away the big play from Nico Collins.
Yeah. I think this game starts off the first drive. I think Steph Diggs has 4 catches right off the first drive. He's going to make 4 catches, 40 yards. They're going to try to get him in the end zone right away just to get the tempo flowing. But if it doesn't work right away, Nico Collins is getting that ball the second drive. They're not going to sway away from Nico, dude. He's been too dominant this year. Yeah.
Nico Collins is an absolute superstar. He is paying off in all the hype I gave him. I had him much higher than you and Merck in our consensus group rankings. Mm-hmm. Like, he was in my top 10. Like, I just saw it. And you're starting him. You're starting Diggs. Joe Mixon didn't practice yesterday. I haven't heard anything today.
He did not practice again.
Oh, which is weird because he practiced on Friday last week.
Yep.
So I think that trends to him not playing. I'm not comfortable starting Cam Akers or Daria Agumbawale. That's like a true split. Like Agumbawale is going to be working the passing situations and the 2-minute drives, and Akers will get the rest. And I don't think that's enough relevance for points from Buffalo. Houston's been good against the run, so that it leaves James Cook's rushing ability in limbo, but which Khalil Shakir possibly not playing. Cook's still a must start. Like he gets involved in the passing game when he's not being utilized as a rusher. And then my start of the week, Dalton Kincaid. I think Kincaid's a great matchup this week, especially if Shakir isn't out.
Yeah, Shakir missed practice again, so it's trending that he doesn't play. So Kincaid's in line for a big week, dude. And I think Keon Coleman's also a really sneaky flex play. Mm-hmm. If Shakir doesn't, like, he had 4 for 50 last week, and they hit him on a couple nice, really passes. Someone's got to get the ball, and it doesn't really look like it's going to be Curtis Samuel, dude. Like, hasn't really been relevant per se.
He was the early darling. Everybody in fantasy communities loved Curtis Samuel. I was that way to start, and then I started leaning towards Khalil Shakir towards the end there. Like, I went with the guy who was there, and so far it's been Shakir. But now Keon Coleman's been pretty much the locked-in number 2 in terms of receiver, and it was good to see them try to stretch the field with Coleman last week. The dude's a freak athlete. So I do love him as a sneaky play this week as well. Houston not great against stopping the pass, and Buffalo's going to need to pass the ball to win this game.
For sure. Tank Dell was limited today in practice, so there's a chance he ends up playing. If he plays, I also wouldn't mind throwing him in the flex. I think there's an actual chance that Houston opens up the passing game this week with Joe Mixon possibly out again. Cam Akers hasn't looked like feasible. You really used, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that guy's name last week.
Daria Gundawale.
He got in the end zone over Cam Akers this week. Akers had the luck of getting in the end zone 2 weeks ago. So like you said, it's a split backfield if Joe Mixon end up missing. But if Mixon plays, I'm starting him. I'm starting Collins. I'm starting Diggs. If Tank Dell plays, he's a flex option for this week. So there's a lot of starts this week for sure out of this game.
Yeah, I'm starting all the names. Like CJ Stroud, I think is a great start. Nico, Diggs, Tank Dell if he plays. I've been on the Tank Dell bandwagon. Keep him in. Don't lose hope there. I think he's still going to be a fine fantasy option this year. Joe Mixon, especially if he plays. I'm out on Akers and Agumbawale, and I'm out on Dalton
Here's
Schultz.
the situation for you. In a fantasy league where you can only have 4 wide receivers because there's a cap on the amount of wide receivers you have. And you have Tank Dell, but you also have Cooper Kupp, who's hurt. So you're a little banged up on receivers. But Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, I will drop Tank Dell for BTJ in a heartbeat. You know, BTJ is my dude.
I made that move in waivers. I'm very grateful that you didn't pick up BTJ. He's just been sitting there, and I'm like, I gotta make the move at some point. Tank Dell's not it.
I wanted to 1 week. It was week 2 after, because I'm in this league also. It was after week 2 with Terry McLaurin had 2 bad games in a row, and I put in a waiver claim for Brian Thomas Jr. over Terry and dropped Terry McLaurin, but I lost out on him. Somebody else got him, and then they cut him after like a week.
Is that what happened?
And Terry McLaurin's now hot again, so I have Terry McLaurin, I have Jaden Reed, I have 2 other, Nico Collins, and someone else who's really good, where I'm just like, I can't cut any of these guys for Brian Thomas Jr. Like, I hate
understandable.
It. Don't cap it at 4. Like,
I agree. If you want to cap it at 5, capping it at 4 is insane, especially when you're starting a flex. Like, you're starting 3 receivers some week. That leaves you with a bench guy, and they also don't have an IR. It's a bad league that we're in. We got roped into it. I was gonna pick up BTJ week 1, but I got blessed with picking up JMO on waivers, so I made the call on Jameson Williams over BTJ, and it seems to be paying off a little bit. JMO's been really, really good for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who my other receiver is in that league, just like running down teams, and I cannot figure it out. Something tells me it's Drake London. I don't know. That league's dumb. I hate that league. I hope they're listening too. I hope one of the people in that league is listening, and they're just like, "Oh, I hate our league." Who are you picking in this game?
Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo.
Buffalo. I agree. Next up, the Carolina Panthers travel to Chicago to take on the Bears. It's another Andy Dalton revenge game. The Bears are 4-point favorites at home, over under of 41. DJ Moore revenge game too. You're starting DJ Moore with confidence. It then comes into like, can you confidently start Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, or Cole Kmet?
No, you cannot.
I agree. No across the board.
No. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to start any of them. Like, I wouldn't be trying to find a way to get them into my lineup.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not pushing to start either of these guys. How would you order them out of the 3 if you had to start either of them? Any of them?
I would go Allen, Kmet, Odunze.
I would switch Odunze. Oh, man. No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I got to rank them the same. I got to go Keenan Allen 1.
I almost put
Cole Kmet 2.
Just because of tight end scarcity. Like, I think Kmet could be a tight end 1.
That is true. He has like a chance to be his position 1, where Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze don't even have a chance to be like a top 15 guy.
Like, DJ Moore barely has that at this point.
DJ Moore is like a flex option at this point, to be honest. Like, he was very lucky with the touchdown last week. He only had 11.5 points, but half of that came out of a touchdown. So like he's getting these snaps because he's on the field a bunch, but I'm not confidently starting any Bears receiver.
Yeah,
But
like
hey man, how about
he's the alpha, DJ Moore. Like he's the only one
yeah.
that like you're not gonna be. You're like, okay, I have to start DJ Moore. Like that you can live with.
Yeah.
But like he has the chances there to dud just because of Shane Waldron's offense is terrible. The Bears' offensive line is terrible, and they're not giving Caleb Williams enough time to throw. And no matter how good of a prospect Caleb Williams is, no matter how good of a prospect any quarterback is, if you have a terrible offensive line, 90% of the time it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it just comes down to. So
You're gonna ask me about
Bears,
DeAndre Swift.
I am going to ask you about DeAndre Swift, who looked absolutely amazing last week, dude. RB3 on the week, almost had 100 yards on the ground, had a tutty,
so
had
half of
7
that
catches,
came from
dude.
one run,
Ooh.
half of that came from one play, his rushing yards, but he looked much better. He completely looked like a different player. Like we called him out here the week before, and he came out and just tore it up. So kudos to you, DeAndre Swift. Carolina's surprisingly pretty decent against the run. But like I think if you have DeAndre Swift, especially with bye weeks, like Saquon Barkley's not playing this week, J.K. Dobbins, who's been in and out of fantasy lineups, he's out. Both Detroit backs, so like chances are like DeAndre Swift is in your lineup, and I'm fine with it. I chance like if I had DeAndre Swift, I probably didn't play him last week, so now I'm just heated about it. And if I play him this week, he's just going to do what he's been doing, and I'm just going to be like, I fucking hate this guy. But I'm fine with him as like an RB2.
I agree. I'm starting him, but it is a huge trap situation because, like you said, like most people didn't play him last week. So you're thinking, oh, I'm putting him in this week, and he's gonna have another great game. He's going up against Carolina. Carolina's looked like a whole different team since Andy Dalton has stepped on this field. Like the whole
they look like a
organization
professional
is
football
switched.
team.
Exactly, they look like a competent football team. So there's a chance I think there's a real chance the Bears just get mollywopped in this game, dude. Like their offense isn't that good, dude. Like their defense is really good.
Yeah,
but
not
their offense is. Oof.
So Chuba Hubbard, though, I love him. Start of the week for you. I think that's a great pick. Deontay Johnson, he's been ripping it up. He's been a top 2 wide receiver since Andy Dalton came in. Yep. How you feel about Xavier Legette? Last week, big week, 6 for 60 and a touchdown. I agree. I picked him up in my big money league. He was sitting on waivers, and I threw a $12 spot at him on Fab, and I won him by $1. The other team bet 11. So, because I have Tank Dell and AJ Brown, both, AJ Brown on a bye and injured. Tank Dell banged up. He might be playing this week. So, and like my other receivers were DK Metcalf and Jaden Reed. So I needed a flex play because I didn't want to have to start Rico Dowdle and Javonte Williams.
Oh, good God.
So I got Legette, and I've locked him into my flex spot. I think he's a great play.
As a person who has Legette and Tank Dell in our number 1 home league, I would personally start Legette over Tank Dell.
I agree. You going with Carolina here? It sounds like you are.
I am. Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm going with Carolina. I locked in very easily.
I'm also picking the Panthers.
I think Andy Dalton brings a really pro presence to this offense, and I don't think that Caleb Williams is ready to fucking compete. I think Mike Evans just had a crazy touchdown, dude. He did. That was nuts.
That's the best high-scoring game there, 17-14.
It is. Drake London also is out. He's getting evaluated for concussion, so hopefully he's okay.
Rough. Yeah. Next game up, big start of the week game for me. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, the winless Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 2.5-point favorites. An over-under of 45.5 points. Johnny Taylor.
Joe Flacco.
Johnny Taylor may or may not play. He's got one of these weird new mild high ankle sprains.
Everyone has a mild high ankle sprain.
Yeah, like what's going on there?
He's not practicing.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing. So I think Trey Sermon then becomes a good start.
Who I got for 0 fab in our home league.
Yeah,
I saw waivers claimed. So
it was funny. You picked him up, and right before I got the notification that you grabbed him, because Ash was just like, "Who should I drop Zeke for?" And I was about to text him like, "Check if Trey Sermon's there. Pick him up." And right as I'm typing it, I got a notification. And I clicked it. And I saw you picked him, and I immediately was like, "Never mind. Pick up Tank Bigsby or Antonio Gibson."
Oh yeah. Tank Bigsby is a good get. So is Gibson. He's a great PPR option. So
Yeah. So, but I like Sermon this week, especially if Johnny Taylor's out, because like the
I
Colts,
agree.
they stick to their depth chart truly. Like when Taylor missed before, it was always Zach Moss, and occasionally they sprinkled in the third string back. It'll be Trey Sermon's backfield if Johnny
100%.
Taylor's out. If Joe Flacco plays,
Dude.
it opens up every Colts receiver, and by every I mean Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, as must plays. I think Pittman becomes a good wide receiver too. I think Josh Downs becomes a great flex option.
If Joe Flacco plays, Michael Pittman was going to be my start of the week. Like I would lock him in as honest to God wide receiver 1. Joe Flacco is just a different type of dude. Like I don't understand why a team's not giving this guy a chance to start. Like
It's because he's old.
I get it, but like he's better than half of these young kids who aren't ready to play, dude. Like Anthony, he gives this team a better chance to win this year right now than Anthony Richardson. And
kudos to the Colts for doing it right and getting a viable, good backup option because they knew that their
100%.
young quarterback was coming off an injury, has injury history. That way, like if he does go down, they have an option. Miami, take notes. Like you guys should have been out there getting Joe Flacco. Could you imagine Joe Flacco with Miami? Whew.
Oh, dude, him and Tyreek would be having field days, dude. And him and Waddle, him checking down to I'm blanking on his name and now I feel crazy bad. Yeah, Achan. Dude, that would be a whole different ball game if he was in Miami, dude. Like I really hope Joe Flacco plays this game. And it's not because I have Josh Downs in a whole bunch of leagues and I really want to start that guy. So like
I think even Adonai Mitchell becomes a good dart throw if you're real desperate. Or DFS wise throw, because I'm sure Adonai Mitchell ain't costing much on daily fantasy lineups.
Cheap.
Yeah. But and it's better just for fantasy. Like the fantasy community, like this game is way better. Like no disrespect to Anthony Richardson. I like Anthony Richardson as a prospect, but like if he's hurt, especially with a hip injury, it takes away like his best ability as in terms of like escaping the pocket. And we want to rely on this guy as a passer? That sounds horrifying.
Well, you can't rely on him as a passer. And I mean, like, he literally got hurt last week, and he came back in, and they're like, let's just run with him. Like, he's hurt. What the hell are you doing?
What a dumb play.
Like, I've never been one to preach Joe Flacco, and he's talented, but he's really good at standing in a pocket and delivering a ball where it needs to be. He throws on a line. Like, he does everything that Anthony Richardson cannot do. And he opens up Pittman and Downs so much, dude. Like, they're so... Like, I said Pittman becomes a wide receiver 1. I think Josh Downs is a wide receiver 2. That's how I see these guys if Joe Flacco's on this field. And it's completely opposite if Anthony Richardson's the quarterback.
Yeah, they almost become... Like, I think I would still start Michael Pittman if Richardson plays. Downs, I'd be worried about.
Downs, he would be like a really low-end flex option. You throw him in if you need him. He's not going to be a wide receiver 2, though.
Yeah, and then Jacksonville... I like Trevor Lawrence this week because of the matchup, just because like I think this game's gonna have to score a bunch of points. I brought up Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's a superstar. How do you? I'm even starting Christian Kirk. I think he's a good flex play.
I agree. I think he's a really good flex option. They've really been targeting him the last 2 weeks. He had 10 2 weeks ago, 12 last week. 12 targets is crazy. And
they're really consolidating the targets to just him and Brian Thomas Jr., which is smart. They're the best two guys.
I think that's what you have to do. Like, because Gabe Davis isn't that kind of guy. He shouldn't be getting more than 3 to 4 targets a game. Anyways, it's not the receiver he is, and Evan Ingram's not there. So like that opens up like literally 9 to 10 targets a game. That's how many targets Evan Ingram gets on a daily basis.
What the hell did this guy do to his fucking hamstring?
And it was literally like a freak accident in practice. It wasn't even like it was.
Yeah,
it was.
So he had a limited practice today.
I expect
Are you playing Evan Ingram if he plays?
100%.
You have to.
Tight ends are garbage. There's a chance Evan Ingram steps on the field and he has 12 catches and he's tight end 1. That's a legitimate possibility, just the way Jacksonville passes to him. How do you feel? I'm confidently starting Kirk and Thomas and Evan Ingram if he plays. The real question mark here is ETN, which is not how anyone predicted this offense.
I was going to ask you about the backfield. So ETN, he was banged up. He's questionable. I think he's going to play. I almost picked the Jaguars backfield as my start of the week, but I didn't want to have Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars backfield, and Brian Thomas Jr. Putting all my eggs in this winless football team's basket.
In an 0-4 football team.
I'm riding high on the Jacksonville. If Etienne's out there, you're gonna play him. He is that
you
dude.
Drafted
But
him that high.
Tank Bigsby should be rostered in majority 100%. Of leagues, because if this guy gets hurt, or maybe the Jaguars try trading him, like if they're bad, they try moving on, because like, can they afford to pick up his 5th-year option and pay him because they're paying Trevor Lawrence $1 bazillion? I don't know. So if they're confident in Tank Bigsby, maybe they try to move on from Travis Etienne.
Yeah, running backs aren't getting paid in today's NFL market. Like Barkley got paid, but Barkley's a different breed.
Swift got paid.
Chicago's not an organization. They're almost on the level of Cleveland. So if Jacksonville legitimately thinks Tank Bigsby can be the guy Etienne was, I don't see that as a possibility. I see Tank Bigsby as a really good backup. But they're going to get rid of him, and to save a little bit of cap because you paid your quarterback so much, that's the way the NFL goes. But you have to start Etienne.
Yeah, but roster Tank Bigsby, especially if you're an Etienne owner, if you have a spot, you should be holding on to Bigsby.
Handcuffing him would be such a waste of 2 roster spots.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like handcuffing, but like I think that's one of the few situations where I would.
I get it, yeah.
Who you picking here?
Indy.
Even if Richardson plays?
Even if Richardson plays.
I'm taking the Jags. I'm going in. I'm going in. Doug Peterson, do your fucking job, bro.
Yeah, get fired.
This team's too good, talent-wise. Like, there's talent across the board on this football team. Put it together. It is 90% of the Jaguars' problem is a coaching issue. Some of it does fall on Trevor Lawrence and the players, but most of the blame from my end is Doug Peterson.
Yeah, he's definitely dropped the ball consistently each year being there, and that's what he does. Like, that's the way he's coached teams, so they just progressively get worse.
We got 2 gross games coming up here. You ready for these?
The
Miami Dolphins travel to New England.
Yeah.
An over-under of 36.5 points. The Dolphins are 1-point favorites.
36.5 is generous. I'm not going to lie.
I agree.
I think the line should be 28. And I think that's even generous. 14 each.
Say, what's the record for lowest line for an NFL game? Because I'm willing to say this game could get there.
I don't even know if each of these teams can score 14 points, and that sets the line at 28. So,
can you bench Tyreek Hill?
No, you cannot. But I think this is a chance where he can have a good game. Like, he's playing.
Tyler Huntley's playing again.
Oh, man, Tyreek has been so bad.
Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley, as you called him last week. This dude's never thrown for 200 yards in a game.
No, but he's made the Pro Bowl.
Great backup quarterback. Not the guy you want in your lineup. So that's not a great start. And like, this dude doesn't check it down to Devon Achane. So like, Achane's upside was like, he may be inefficient this year running the ball, but he's getting a ton of targets. Well, not with Tyler Huntley. So now, like, Huntley maybe he's better than Skylar Thompson, but he might not be better for fantasy. Like, you almost could bench all your Dolphins players, and I wouldn't be too mad at you. But yeah, you're going to start Achane. I would be willing to bench Tyreek Hill if I had depth there.
Are you getting attacked?
I am. Barney is attacking me.
Jesus Christ. I'm like, something's trying to get you, bro. Like, horror movie going on in Center's room here.
Yeah, I don't know what his problem is.
I am not benching Tyreek. Like, the words benching Tyreek Hill just, they don't go together. Devon Achane, he's still startable at like a low end running back 2 flex option for sure. But like, Tyler Huntley doesn't make this offense any better. So like, Miami's dropped the ball horrendously without getting a quarterback.
Tyreek Hill's like a 3 for 30 guy right now.
I get it, but it's Tyreek, bro. Even with a ball pass, like they can have a robot quarterback, one of those things you put a ball in and it just shoots out as their quarterback.
I would rather that. I think that would be much better for Tyreek Hill.
I agree. I think he could get him a couple tutties with that thing. Because Tyler Huntley hit and missed him on multiple deep drops.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that Tua doesn't play another game and he wins MVP?
Oh my God. What a wild thing. That would be.
If he
that was
doesn't
like the
suit
Colts
up
the one
again,
year
like there's a chance
were
the
the worst
Dolphins
team
go
winless.
Yeah,
Never lead a game.
Yeah, but they
won
won
one game. They did.
It's insane.
In New England, let's jump to
the other side of the ball.
Keeps fumbling. So like, how long until he get like? They asked Jared Mayo about it, and he's just like, ball security's job security. As if you're a Ramondre owner, that's not what you want to hear. Like I've tried to get Antonio Gibson in any league I have a roster spot just in case, because like he at least provides passing upside. Like he hasn't been efficient on the ground, but he's doing work in the passing game when he's got to play. Like, and he's not fumbling. Ramondre has 4 fumbles. He's fumbled. Hey, he's on pace for 17 fumbles. Big math brain right here. That worries me. And then that's it. Like you're pretty much starting Ramondre and rostering Gibson. None of the passing game's worthwhile here. Start Drake May.
I think we've actually spent too much time on this game. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree. I'm taking I can't even make a pick. I'm taking the Dolphins. Just better players.
Who did I actually pick? Because I want to pick New England. Nope, I have New England picked. So I'm picking New England.
Okay. I'm taking Miami. They win 7-3.
I think that's a good pick. They win 2-0. Safety. Yeah. Call it a day. Baseball game.
The next gross game, the Las Vegas Raiders travel to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under on this one is 35.5 points.
Too high. Set of the 28, just like the other one.
Yeah, another gross game. Devontae Adams isn't playing ever again with the Vegas Raiders. He's getting moved.
He's done. Yep.
He is. So
his hamstring will forever hurt until he gets traded.
Yeah, instant. He'll be like Forrest Gump running out of the fucking little braces on his gimp legs.
Oh my God.
On his little polio legs. But I'm not starting Jacoby Myers because guess what, brother? You got Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
I don't really want to start Trey Tucker yet. Denver's got a good defense. So I think Brock Bowers becomes a fucking superstar.
I'm actually cool starting Trey Tucker, and I know that sounds crazy versus Denver's passing dean. He had 24 2 weeks ago, almost 25, and last week he had almost 16, and he played on 85% of snaps. Like his snaps have consistently gone up.
You'd rather Tucker than Myers?
Yeah, I think Tucker has a higher ceiling. I think Myers is going to get body bagged by Surtain.
I would agree with that. I think Brock Bowers is going to be the ultimate beneficiary of all this.
You think there's a chance that Bowers shits the bed again for 3 weeks in a row, and you can kind of forge him from the team that has him?
No, I don't.
You think if you have Jake Ferguson, you can get Brock Bowers and something else?
No.
Okay.
I think you'd have to give Ferguson and something else to get Bowers.
Ooh. Woohoo. Okay, Mr. Brock Bowers hasn't scored double digits since week 2.
I get that.
Consistent,
I love Big Biscuit. I wouldn't be trying to move Big Biscuit for Brock Bowers if I had him. I would just be content.
I agree. I'm just saying.
Okay. Denver.
Ugh, horrendous.
Vegas' defense. Vegas. Zamir White ended up on the practice report today. He's got a groin injury. So this might be the Alexander Madison backfield. And hey, Denver's been pretty bad against the run. Alexander Madison might be a close your eyes and put him in your lineup type of play this week.
Yeah, we talked about last week how they need to give that guy the super serum from Captain America to Zamir White because he's just horrendous. It seems they gave him the complete opposite. They're sucking the life out of this guy. They're making him Benjamin Button. They're like, we're tired of this guy. We're just gonna suck him from existence. Madison's not good at all.
No, Madison's bad.
Alexander Pattison. Oh, Alexander Pattison. That's funny. But he finds the end zone pretty consistently this year. No Zamir White, he's a really sneaky flex option this week.
Like, if you're desperate running back,
it's there.
Yep.
You starting Javonte?
I am. I think Javonte Williams is the only Bronco I'm starting with a bit of confidence. Though,
Sutton's not
Cortland
terrible.
Sutton, he's had double digits in PPR leagues back-to-back weeks. He is
Yeah.
the only option in the passing game. So I would be content putting him in, but I'd be more comfortable starting Javonte just because of how bad Vegas is against the run.
I agree.
And
I'm cool
no
with
Tyler
Javonte.
Beatty, so it is Javonte's backfield, I guess. We'll see.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe it's Blake Watson's.
Yeah, no. And then next week we're talking about how McLaughlin outrushed Javonte on more targets, more attempts.
And then Audric Estime's back in.
Oh my god, I am dreading Denver's backfield just for the rest of the year, dude.
Yep, me too. I'm picking Denver here. I'm done with this game too.
Yep, I picked Denver.
Let's talk about a good game. The Arizona Cardinals travel to San Francisco and take on the 49ers.
Good game.
The Niners are 7.5-point favorites. It's got an over-under of 50.
I think 7.5 is a legitimate joke. I think they beat them by double that spread.
I mean, Arizona, it all depends on what Cardinals team you get. Like, I think if Kyler Murray's running the ball more, I think you're getting a better output from the Cardinals. But like the last 2 weeks, he hasn't been running, and Trey McBride should be playing. So I think that is also a huge help there.
Okay. You're right.
So
yeah, that changes it a little bit.
I do think San Francisco ends up covering though. I think they'll win by 7-8. So they'll either just miss it or just break it. But I am picking the Niners. But I'm starting my Cardinals. Marvin Harrison, fine start.
Yeah, for sure.
Trey McBride, fine start. Kyler Murray, fine start. Other than that, nobody else. You could probably get rid of Michael Wilson. He didn't show up last week. Greg Dortch, again, probably shouldn't be rostered.
I think this game has a very Detroit-Seattle kind of vibe to it from last week. Like
the Cardinals
Seattle
get 30 and the Niners break 45. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like Seattle still put up 30 points, but they still lost by like 18 points because fucking Detroit almost dropped 50. I think San Francisco is gonna like Jordan Mason has been. You lock him in confidently. Okay, well, let me go back to the Cardinals. As you said, I'm locking in all their starters just because they're going to be playing keep up. Connor's a great start. Marv's a really good start. Obviously, you're starting Trey McBride because tight ends have been horrendous if he plays.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other two Cardinals receivers, pick your poison, is a flex option. I don't care which one you go with. You can make a case for either one.
I don't want to.
If I had to pick, I'm not playing either, but their floors are fine. They're like 6-7 points.
I'd rather just start Darnell Mooney or Cortland Sutton or
he's a Thursday game.
Tyler Lockett.
People can't hear this and be like, "Oh, I wish I started Darnell Mooney because they're talking to us on a Friday."
Yeah,
Darnell Mooney had a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
okay. Oh, did he? Nice.
Yes.
Rashad White just had a 56-yard run.
The run was crazy, dude. It was
dog.
He looked so explosive, dude.
I would also start Jawan Jennings over any of the Cardinals' other receivers.
We haven't got there yet. Yeah, he led the team in targets and receiving yards last week with all of them on the field.
That dude is gonna make being a Debo or Brandon Ayuk owner so frustrating for the rest of the year.
Yep, exactly.
Because now, as if he is he is getting the Christian McCaffrey pass work, essentially. Jordan Mason's getting all the run work. So now, cool. Christian McCaffrey's being replaced by two different players. That means more options in San Francisco. Wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
Brock Purdy's been really good.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not playing like a game manager, and I love to see it. Like I would start every Niners player. Ayuk, Debo, Jennings, Kittle, Mason, Purdy. I think all of them are locks.
100%. I agree.
And we're picking San Francisco.
Arizona's defense is horrendous. I'm starting every Niner I could possibly start.
Cheeks.
But yeah, I'm picking San Fran for sure.
Speaking of cheeks, the New York Giants travel to Seattle as 6.5-point underdogs. An over-under of 43.5. Doesn't look like Malik Neighbors is going to play. That's wonderful to hear as a Giants fan, for sure.
Singletary's also hurt.
Devin Singletary's got a groin injury, so it might be Tyrone Tracy's season, baby.
Yep.
But even if it is, I think Eric Gray gets involvement too, where it kind of just filters out. I think Tracy's like, if you're real desperate, you can play him. Like I would play him over Charbonnet if Kenneth Walker plays.
So the last 2 weeks, Tyron Tracy's played 31% and then 26%. He's playing a little bit, but I fully expect Eric Gray to slide right into the Singletary role. I don't think Tyron Tracy's role changes. I think Eric Gray becomes the running back. He's more of the Devin Singletary kind of guy. Yeah. I think Tracy plays a little bit more, but I don't think he gets the Singletary carries. I think they're going to be split between the two.
I mean, I wouldn't be trying to play either one of them. But if I had to play one of them, I would take the shot at Tracy. I think he's got more juice than Eric Gray. But the Giants, without Malik Neighbors, it really becomes Wan'Dale Robinson's going to get like 15 targets.
He could get more than that.
Yeah, and then I guess you take a dart throw at Darius Slayton.
That's my mindset. I think Slayton becomes a low-end flex guy because Neighbors isn't there. We have to open up the offense somehow, and it's going to be Slayton. He's the receiver that we use in that situation. Wan'Dale Robinson could legitimately have 15 catches for 32 yards this game, and it's going to blow everyone's fucking mind.
Yeah, but you're going to play him. PPR leagues, like he's going to pay off because of all the targets. Like you said, yeah, he could get 13 grabs for 50 yards, but hey, that's 19 points.
Exactly. His stat line has a chance to be outrageously dumb this week.
Yeah, I hope it is. I hope it is like that classic, like Jaleel McLaughlin when he had like 9 catches for 6 yards.
Yeah, McLaughlin had that one game. He had like 6 catches for 1 yard, and we're like, how did this happen?
How's it happen? Seattle though, DK Metcalf, you're playing him. JSN, you're playing him. Tyler Lockett, I'd be willing to put a flex play in.
And then start him flex.
Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet, I think are good plays. And then obviously Geno Smith. Geno Smith is playing great football.
He is playing so good. I'm personally starting him in every league I have Hurts. I'm trying to start Geno, and it's been pretty successful. He's been a top 12 quarterback every week except last week, and that's when they played Miami. So,
no, last week they played Detroit.
Or 2 weeks ago. That's 2 weeks ago when they played Miami. Last week they played Detroit. He was quarterback 8. He had a super high power offense. He had almost 400 yards passing last week. He had 395. That's crazy, dude. So
even the game he wasn't a QB1, didn't he break 300 yards?
I think he was very close. Yeah, let me quick look up the stat line. He had 289 and a tutty.
Okay.
The reason he had 2 interceptions. So like that's minus 4 points in some leagues. He probably was like a low end. He was probably a quarterback 16 without those interceptions. So like he's still a fringe top 12 quarterback. And in this offense, dude, start him.
Yep. Both going Seattle? Or are you picking your boys?
No. I'm picking Seattle. Right. I want the dub.
The Packers travel to LA to take on the Rams. They're 3-point favorites. The Packers are on the road. Over under 49.5 points. Jaden Reed is an absolute maniac when Jordan Love's in the lineup.
Yep.
He's in your lineup. Jordan Love in your lineup. I love Dontavian Wicks this week. Christian Watson not playing. Dontavian Wicks, other than the fact that he can't catch the ball sometimes, leads the team in red zone targets. He's the big play guy. I mean, Jaden Reed also is, but like Wicks has that capability as well. Like he'll eat targets to get the big play, whereas like Jaden Reed hits his big play like all the times.
Wicks had 13 targets last week, dude. Like, even like with Watson, whenever he comes back, I hope this team recognizes how good Wicks is, dude. Like, he's such a legitimate receiver. His separation is elite. His route running's crazy. I get his hands are a little bit iffy, and that's what receivers need. Like, that's your job, is to catch the ball. I get it. But it's also your job to get open, separate, to run the routes, and everything else he does at an elite level. And like
Christian Watson's the 4th best receiver on this team.
100%. I agree. He's a bum, dude. And you brought up Jaden Reed, dude. Like, would you believe that he had more receiving yards last week than he did week 1 when he was wide receiver 1?
Yeah, I would, because I watched that dude rip up the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, him and Jordan Love are insane together.
Yeah, he had 1 more receiving yard. He had 139 yards last week, 7 catches, a tutty. The dude is legitimately wide receiver 1 and 2 the 2 weeks Jordan Love has played. Like, he is elite, dude, and he's a baller, dude. Like, I love it. Wicks balled out last week. I love that Jordan Love is back, dude. This is the offense we were fully expecting.
And then Tucker Kraft was really good last week. He's your start of the week this week.
Yep.
He's playing good. Romeo Dobbs is fine. Like, he's not flashy, but if you're desperate, I'd put him into the flex. I wouldn't try to, but if you had to, he could get a touchdown and make his day worthwhile.
The weeks Jordan Love has played, Romeo Dobbs has had 7 targets and 8 targets. Like the two in between weeks, he had 5. He had 5 targets the weeks he didn't play. And he's had 4 catches each game Jordan Love has played. So he's a really good floor option when it comes to flex.
He just doesn't get the big play. How do you feel about Josh Jacobs, though? Like,
Ugh,
he's an RB2 at this point to me.
Yeah. I'm starting him, but his high on the season is 14 points. And that's the game he had 32 carries, dude. Like, he only had 14 points on 32 carries. He had 151 yards and still finished with less than 15 points. So, like, he's not really, like, a high-end kind of guy. He's just a really low-end running back, too, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And then the Rams, where are you going here? Jordan Whittington, he played like over 90% of the snaps last week. Tutu Atwell, I think you're okay throwing a dart at one of those guys.
I almost made Tutu Atwell my start of the week. I'm not going to lie.
I'm starting Tutu Atwell in a league this week.
I like that. He played 90% of snaps last week. He finished as wide receiver 36. Like, he had 4 catches for 82 yards last week. The week before, he had 4 catches for 93 yards. So that's a really good base. If you throw a touchdown on top of that, you're looking at a really, really good week from Tutu. So I think him or Jordan Whittington, pick your poison. One of them is getting into the end zone this week.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson's become the cardio guy here, and it looks like Tyler Johnson just kind of phased his way back to the bench. All right, Minnesota Gophers ledger. Yeah, Whittington and Tutu, or Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. Who would you rather start amongst the 4? Like, you have to start 2 of them, a pair. Are you more comfortable with the Rams guys or the Cardinals guys?
I would rather split the difference. I would rather start Tutu and one of the Cardinals guys.
Okay.
I don't want to bet on 2 Rams receivers.
Well, I don't want to bet on 2 Cardinals receivers that aren't Marvin Harrison.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I would rather just split the difference out. But Tutu, I would go Tutu over all of those guys.
Yeah, I would trust the Rams guys more than the Cardinals guys, just because the Rams don't have a Marvin Harrison Jr.
Exactly. Like, one of the Rams guys is going to be the number 1 option on their team.
Yep. Kyron Williams, obviously, he's the no-brainer start for the Rams.
He's the offense.
He is the offense. Yeah, he's so good at football. Who are you going with here?
Green Bay.
Green Bay, I agree. Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys travel to Pittsburgh and face your start of the week, Justin Fields. Steelers are 2.5-point favorites at home, an over-under of 44.5. It doesn't look like Cordarrelle Patterson or Jalen Warren are going to play this game, so Najee Harris could be getting a insane workload because the backup is substitute teacher Alan Shumpkin. I don't even know who that guy is. Never heard of him.
He's going to get a crazy workload, and he's going to finish with a Josh Jacobs 14 points, baby. Yeah.
So Najee, I'll play him just because of volume. I think Justin Fields is a great play. I like Pat Freiermuth. I'd rather start Freiermuth than Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts or Tyler Conklin or some of these other names we've brought up at tight end. I would hold Freiermuth in like the same boat as Tucker Kraft.
I would for sure.
George Pickens, obviously you're playing him. That's it. Pittsburgh's pretty easy to lock down. And then Dallas, Brandon Cooks for 1 to 3 weeks. He got some weird knee infection and had to get a procedure done while he was in New York. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think that dude's done anyways. Like, I think Jalen Tolbert's been playing better than him. So they have Jalen Tolbert. He's a name to watch.
You think he's a flex option?
I do. He's the name I'd watch out for.
I agree with Cooks officially gone. Week 2 and 3, he had 14 points, and then last week he versus the Giants, he only had 6 points, but he still played in 70% of snaps, and that's only going to go up with Cooks out for the next couple weeks. But
Jalen Tolbert was an Alabama receiver, and then he transferred out to wherever he went, some low end school, because attitude grade, something like that. I don't remember what it was, but dude's talented, and he's been playing good football when he's been on the field this year. And I mean, ultimately, I think the Cooks being out benefits Jake Ferguson the most. Like, he was already the number 2 option. He's going to get more targets. Brandon Cooks was a red zone darling for Dak Prescott. So I imagine those go to CD or Jake Ferguson, not Jalen Tolbert. But I think Jalen Tolbert is a guy to keep an eye on for sure.
I agree. McCarthy even suggested in a press conference that Tolbert is in line for a bigger role with Cooks out. So,
but hey, if I'm
you,
Dallas,
you brought up Ferguson though. I think Ferguson's going to eat up those targets.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm Dallas though, I am sending whatever I can to get Devontae Adams. I brought that up in our preseason stuff.
You don't think Pittsburgh's doing the same?
I know. I think Pittsburgh should too. I think Pittsburgh, Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, again, and then the Saints and the Jets, because that's where he wants to go. They should be shelling. If he was the Saints,
that would kill Chris Olave, dude. That would be so fucking upsetting. Yeah, I agree. But Pittsburgh was all in on Ayuk. They were willing to give up the most for Ayuk, and Ayuk was like, "I'm not going to Pittsburgh."
Yeah, and they should be.
Devontae Adams doesn't have that option. He doesn't have a no trade or any leverage in this. If Pittsburgh comes in and offers them the most, we could see Devontae Adams suiting up next to George Pickens, and that would be pretty fun to watch.
I think that would hurt Pickens though in fantasy, just because Pittsburgh doesn't pass.
I in fantasy it would hurt him, but real life, I think that would be outstanding to watch. Both those guys are dogs, dude.
Rico Dowdle, he is his backfield now, but he's got a tough stretch of defense. Like his next couple games, he's playing tough defenses, so it's gonna be tough for him. But I hope to see him be more involved as like Zeke's not even the backup at this point. That they've been utilizing their fullback as their backup running back, Hunter Lupke. So it is Rico's backfield, but I wouldn't be putting him in my lineup this week. Tough matchup.
I'm willing to say CeeDee Lamb is the backup running back, to be honest, at this point. He had 3 carries last week. I'm not starting Rico versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah. You're starting Dak, though? Or would you try to Dak or Justin Fields? Your start of the week.
God, dude. Dak,
I think
because
I would
has...
go Fields. I would go Fields. With the rushing upside, I think Dallas can't stop the run. I think Justin Fields becomes the running back here because Najee's cheeks.
Najee's still going to get 20 carries, but I agree. I would go Justin Fields over Dak this week. Not going in the future.
Who wins the game?
I really, really want to pick Dallas. Like I have Dallas picked, but I think Pittsburgh ends up swinging it on the road or on the at home. That's what I meant.
I think Dallas wins the game.
Right now I have it at Dallas, but this game's not locked in for sure. I think Pittsburgh can swing it.
And Monday Night Football, the New Orleans Saints travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Yet another Chiefs primetime game.
The game for Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Winner gets Devontae Adams, and the Saints are just playing their hearts out. The custody of
Devontae Adams in a ladder match.
Winner plays the winner of Steelers Cowboys. We're doing a tournament.
Oh my God. We have a little in-season tournament for Devontae Adams.
Yeah, it'd be wild. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites at over/under of 43. No Rashee Rice. He went on IR today. They're waiting because they're waiting for his knee swelling to go down before they declare what's going. So I don't know what's going on with him. There's weird.
A chance. I think there's a chance he's actually back this year.
So hang on to him. I have him in my money league, which has an extra bench spot, but there's no IR, so it kind of sucks. That I have to because I also have AJ Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So struggles with this game just feels gross. The Chiefs are really bad at stopping tight ends, so I guess Juwan Johnson, if you want to have big balls, you throw him in your lineup. Chris Olave, he's probably not doing anything this week. The Chiefs are great at shutting down the option of the offense, so I think passing game wise, Chris Olave doesn't do much, so it's going to be a big Alvin Kamara game. And then the Chiefs,
Taysom
Patrick
Hill's
Mahomes,
he's not practicing.
Yeah. He fractured his ribs. Taysom Hill would have been the greatest player if he was playing in the 1920s.
Oh, he would. This would be a great
talking about him as the GOAT.
Oh, 100%. He'd be the Babe Ruth, dude. What are we talking about here? We'd be talking about Taysom Hill back in the 20s was peak, baby.
Did you see that grainy footage of him running down a defender?
He fucking took that hike Wildcat style, baby. Quarterback, running back, he's it all. The great
Kicker.
Taysom Hill. I would have loved to start Taysom Hill this week, but he's looking. He's not going to play with the fractured ribs.
No.
Kamara though is a great start.
Like, yeah,
Man,
I think you're putting Chris Olave in your lineup, and you're going to hate it. Like, I think Kamara is really the only one with confidence that's going to have a good game and hit his projection. Probably,
Starting
but I don't
big
want
upside Shaheed.
I don't want to start any. I don't want to start any of the Chiefs or Saints receivers in this game. I don't want to start any of the Chiefs receivers in this game either.
I'm still cool starting Olave and Shaheed. I get Shaheed goose egg 2 weeks ago, but last week he had almost 20 points. 3 out of the 4 weeks he has 20 points. Like, I'm cool starting Shaheed. Just even if he goose eggs, I'm cool taking the L on that. Like, the risk of him having 20 points on my bench, I'm not taking that.
Yeah,
like, he's
I
a better
guess.
Xavier Worthy. Like, him or Xavier Worthy, who you starting?
My mindset's always go to a guy with a better quarterback, so I'm going to go with Worthy just because Olave's also there. So I don't know what the pecking order is going to be in Kansas City from the receiving standpoint. Like, it's obviously going to be Travis Kelce, but Xavier Worthy could end up being the wide receiver 1 for that team now. So I'll throw the play at him, even though he's probably a little riskier.
I get what you're saying, but I would rather take Shaheed. I don't think Worthy's capable of being a wide receiver 1. He's super flashy. Like, I think there's a chance Watson's used a bunch. Juju's going to be used a bunch. This is going to be like an ugly Chiefs receiving room of old.
It's gonna look like last year. Like,
yeah, I mean,
the beginning
Rice
of the year,
was
because
still there last year.
but Rashi Rice didn't get involved right away.
Yeah, it took him a little bit.
So where do you stand? That's what I was just gonna say. I would go out and get Clyde Edwards-Helaire because I do think it's gonna be his backfield eventually.
I'm in on Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, this week maybe, but I think they go back to Clyde. I just don't trust Hunt. Like, I don't know. I don't really want a piece of the backfield, any of them. I think it's just a muck. Like, Samaje Perine played 40% plus of the snaps last week, and that's just like he's going to be involved. I'm just out on the Kansas City backfield. I just want Pacheco to come back.
Kareem Hunt had 9 rushing touchdowns last year. Like, he still has something there. Like, 9 rushing touchdowns is nothing to bat an eye out. That's really impressive in the NFL. And Steele fumbled. Like, there's still a chance they give him a little bit of the workload. But yeah, it's slim, but
mess.
It's a real mess. But if I had to put my chips on someone, it's Kareem Hunt going forward. I still think there's something left in his little. I don't even know what the fuck to call it.
I would go with Clyde.
He was a
first round pick for a reason, Nick.
You're right, but I think it means something for Kareem Hunt to be back in Kansas City. This is like a redemption. It's an opportunity to show that they shouldn't have moved on from him in his prime for stuff that we should not be talking about on the podcast. But now he's back in Kansas City. It's almost like here's a redemption. Here's your opportunity again. And I hope he does run with it. It's kind of like if Todd Gurley would go back to the Rams. Like, oh, we would want nothing more than this guy to be like, oh, Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley, what a fucking run that guy had.
So I'm just really pulling for a real cool story here with Kareem Hunt back in Kansas City.
You're starting Patrick Mahomes, but like,
I guess.
Are you happy to start Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Yeah.
No,
I would try to trade him. I would try to find the dumbest person in your league and be like, yo, you want Patrick Mahomes? And they'd probably be like, yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
He hasn't been a QB 12 at all this year except week 1, and he was a QB 12. So his ceiling is back end starter. So starting him isn't even.
Yeah, and now if all the weapons are gone, I don't know.
Streaming Mahomes sounds crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna play him, but hey, if I had Brock Purdy with Patrick Mahomes, I think I would play Brock Purdy over.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Chiefs. That's who I'm picking.
Yeah, I'm picking Kansas City.
Yeah.
The New Orleans is finally New Orleans, and it's nice.
Yeah, they're back, baby. Get Dennis Allen the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm glad we weren't clinically insane.
Yeah. The real Saints showed up.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen tricked everybody into thinking he was a good coach.
They did get me, though. I did buy in that 1 week.
They didn't get this guy.
And then they bit me in the ass. Them and Philly that 1 week. Oh, yeah. Football's
all
dumb.
Right. Football it's dumb. Yeah, the Vikings are going to get me one day. I'm just waiting for it. My 4-0 Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, it's kind of nice having a team where you don't have any expectations.
I was hoping that was the Vikings season this year. I was looking forward to no expectations this year.
Yeah,
nope.
You didn't get that.
Nope. Now we're undefeated and
considered one of the best teams in football.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love it. I'm so happy. Just from like a non-fan standpoint, like I love that Sam Darnold's getting a chance and like running with it. I hope he gets paid. I hope it's. I would even take him back in Minnesota next year.
I really think you guys should bring him back.
Yeah, there we go. Podcast over. Wrap it up. We'll be back on Tuesday with a recap of everything as usual and some power rankings, all that good stuff. And we will remember.
Definitely, no, we will not. No,
forget
we will not
to preview Thursday and do that on the fly, as always. Drafted Up Podcast, you know where to find us, Twitter/X at @DraftedUp_pod, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Like, rate, subscribe, review, follow, whatever you have to do there. Tell a friend, word of mouth. It's always wonderful. Anything to support the pod, we always appreciate it. Thanks, guys, as always, for listening. Drafted Up Podcast, we outie.
Adios. Bye-bye-bye.